Hey everyone, welcome to Jason Explains Things. We're out having a nice cruise, my dog and I here in the countryside, returning some equipment that I borrowed from my dad. I've got an awesome project video for you today on my 1987 Dodge Ram D150. We're gonna be doing a drive shaft refresh, new U-joints, new rear diff cover that you're probably gonna say is unnecessary, but I just want it for fun, so it's gonna happen. Before we jump into the project, I want to say thank you to my subscribers that stick around specifically for the old Dodge stuff. It means a lot. You guys are incredibly patient, incredibly positive. Like, hey man, how's the Dodge doing? You gonna do another video on that? And I'm like, yeah, I am. So I just want to say thank you. It means a lot. You guys rock. Let's roll that intro. All right, everyone, we're back at my shop. We're gonna get to work here on the old Dodge. We're doing essentially a drive shaft refresh. We're replacing all three U-joints. We're going to be doing a rear diff service along with a fancy pants new rear diff cover. And let me show you the parts we're gonna use. Come on, Chris. Okay, here with the parts, we've got 3 Moog Super Strength greasable U-joints. These should last a long time. For the rear diff portion of our project, we have a new cover from B&M. The reason why I'm going with this is first off for looks, frankly, but also apparently there are some cooling features to this, and also it has better fill and drain plugs. Since we're replacing the cover, we obviously have to do a rear diff service, so we have a new gasket, and we have some overly fancy gear oil. This is AMSOIL, fully synthetic 75W90.
Severe gear.
Severe gear! And we got 3 quarts of it. I'm not sure exactly how much you'll need. I'll put right here how much you'll need. So, do I have too much or too little? You know I don't. And then also, you're gonna need some RTV. I have red. You can just use black, but I have red, so that's just what I have here. And also, this manual. It's all worn and loved because I love it. I will have a link to this below. I highly recommend the Haynes manuals. This is how I don't look stupid on video, is this. So anyway, let's take a look at my drive shaft now, and I can kind of explain why we're doing all this. Here we are in the back of the truck. Here's the back portion of the drive shaft. U-joint number 1, U-joint number 2, and then over there in the front is U-joint number 3 by the transmission. I noticed that I might need new U-joints actually, like 4 or 5 months ago, driving to the dump, I could just hear like a kind of a clunk sound at slow speeds. As soon as I went above over 20, then it went away. A good way to check if a U-joint needs to be replaced is just to try to move it, and this should not move at all. But I can feel it moving, and I can hear kind of a clunk sound. Yeah, I can hear that one too. 3rd U-joint here right by the transmission. Let's move it around a little bit. Okay, I can feel a tiny bit of movement. This one is probably okay, but you know what? We're replacing 2 of them, so we're gonna replace 3 of them. Future/video editor Jason here. Originally, I planned on replacing all 3 U-joints and the center bearing, but changed my mind. Later, after removing the noisy back half of the drive shaft, there was virtually no movement or noise in the front. Personally, I think it's smarter to save parts for when they're needed, and this isn't the last time that I'll butt in with some mild roadblocks or changes that popped up. Doing DIY projects is always a learning experience for me. Before disconnecting anything, I made reference marks on the rear diff yoke, drive shaft, and sliding yoke. The drive shaft is balanced from the factory and everything must go back together exactly as before. Using a wrench, remove the 4 bolts securing the back U-joint to the rear diff yoke. Hey, get yourself some ratcheting wrenches if you do this, if you want to be faster. Yeah. Whoop, there it goes. All right, so this goes down. Next, remove the metal boot clamp that connects the sliding yoke to the front tube. FYI, that metal clip is a single-use part and will need to be replaced when you put stuff back together. More on that later. It's a drive shaft. It's noisy.
Time to press out the old U-joints. I'm using my Triton Super Jaws to secure the drive shaft while working on it. Be careful to only clamp on the reinforced ends of the shaft. It's easy, especially if you use a traditional vise, to warp the shaft and ruin it. Remove all the C-shaped retainer clips with a screwdriver. Careful, they tend to go flying.
Thanks for not going into my lens. Nice, well, we got our 2 C-clips removed, so now it's time to press out our old U-joint. To do that, you can actually use a variety of tools. Chris Fix has an awesome video all about U-joints, and I'll link it below. That'll give you every type of car. But I actually have this ball joint service kit from Harbor Freight that I used on the front suspension rebuild, so that actually works really well for this. So we're going to be pressing this way, then we're gonna flip it over, press the other direction. Just one note, really important, is you want this large eyelet on this side clear so that the cap can come out. There we go, now she's free.
To remove the cap on the other side, I hammered it straight down with a deep socket. Combining the press and hammer methods makes removing old U-joints really easy.
Hey, do it yourself. Boom.
Remove the other U-joint, then give the shaft and yoke a good cleaning. Be sure to smooth out any chips or burrs. Also use some 1000 grit sandpaper and clean the mating surface for the new parts.
All right, new U-joint time. So you just want to take off 2 caps. You want to be careful not to mess up your new fancy roller bearings inside of each cap. Good. Slide her in like so. Put this one on like this. This one on like this. And then we press in each side one at a time until we have clearance to get our C-clamps inside there.
C-shaped retainer clips.
C-shaped retainer clips. Thank you, Chris.
Press in the remaining caps like the first. Once 2 parallel caps are seated evenly, install the retainer clips. Don't forget to install the grease zerk for each U-joint.
That's it.
Another important tip I learned from Chris Fix is to tap on the drive shaft and yoke next to the caps, so the U-joints will move freely.
Yeah? Well, we got our drive shaft with our 2 new U-joints. We've got our hardware and clamps all cleaned up. We're gonna use orange thread locker. Put this back in.
Slide the yoke onto the front tube. It only goes in one way, so you can't screw that part up. To secure the boot, you'll need a special boot clamp that I could only find online, along with special CV boot pliers. Links to both in the description below. Next, secure the back U-joint to the rear diff yoke with the straps, bolts, and thread locker. Be sure to line up your marks from before. Now, I had a really hard time installing the last 2 retainer clips on this truck. When I took it apart, they weren't even there. The manual shows odd-shaped clips, which I had no luck finding anywhere. Long story short, I was able to install the clips, but I had to use older ones that were slightly thinner. Please leave a comment below if you've had this issue also, but in the end, everything looks great and is much safer than before. Last but not least, grease each U-joint and you're done.
Good stuff.
Moving on, let's start our rear diff cover upgrade. Simply remove all the 1/2-inch bolts and let the fluid drain.
Here we go.
Pro tip, leave the top 2 bolts in partially till the fluid drains so you don't make a mess. Now is a great time to check the gearing for any chipped or broken teeth.
So, anyway, I want to give you a comparison of why I am doing this. First off, it's just going to make servicing the rear diff easier. You do not need to remove the cover to change out the fluid. With this one, it comes with a nice big fill plug. Also, this one has a drain plug. The drain plug actually has a nice powerful magnet on the bottom of it. So this will collect any little bits and any little shavings that you might have. This will actually collect those while you're driving. Then when you drain out your old fluid, you can see if you have any issues. The other actual mechanical benefit of this one as opposed to the original is this one has more fluid capacity. So there's gonna be more fluid back there, which will make the fluid last a little bit longer, and also it will add more cooling. But honestly, can I be blunt with you guys? I'm doing this because I think it looks cool, and because it's fun to do. So that's why I'm installing this. All right, well, we gotta do some assembly on this guy, and then we'll put it in.
Install the supplied load bolts to each boss from inside the cover. Run them in until they bottom out from the inside. This can be challenging. I ended up using a power tool to get it all the way down.
So we're gonna tighten these up once it's on the truck.
Now it's time to apply your gasket. You can either use silicone RTV alone, or I recommend using a combination of a paper gasket and RTV.
Nice, well we got the cover all ready to go with our paper gasket and some RTV. I have all the hardware also laid out with a little bit of blue thread locker on there just so nothing vibrates out. So we gotta hold this in place very securely and then attach it and then we'll torque it down.
Install the cover using the bolts and washers in a crisscross pattern. Torque the bolts to 15 foot-pounds. Next, screw in the 2 load bolts until they touch the bearing caps. Slightly tighten them to 5 foot-pounds max. Apply a small amount of RTV around the load bolts, then install the 2 jam nuts, torquing them to 5 foot-pounds. Install your drain plug. Next, fill with gear lube till the fluid runs out the fill hole. Install the fill plug and you're done.
Hey, I'm in the countryside now. Well, we've got a successful test drive under our belts. I'm not hearing any noise coming from those new U-joints, so I think we're good. I love the rear diff. No leaks on that, so I am very, very happy. Anyway, if you like this video, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out the Old Dodge playlist where all the videos about this truck all live together. So until next time, everyone, God bless. Don't forget to do it yourself. I'm gonna keep on trucking. Get it? Trucking? Okay.